Hey, welcome back everyone. So, the long-awaited how to make your own elevator, since the one inside the mod kit keeps crashing and I haven't figured it out. Nobody else seems to have either, so why not make our own? So, quick and simple little demonstration. Hit our button and see we're kind of going up. And doors will open, and there you go. So I'm going to try and break this down into a few different ones, since there is a lot of material to cover. Just to give you guys a quick little summary of exactly what is going to be needed. That is everything to govern it. There might be a better way of doing it, but this way works, so why not? If anybody else has like better ways of doing this, don't hesitate to write in the comments below, and I'll either iterate or update or something. Alright, so without further ado, let's actually start this. So just gonna put this here for reference. I'm gonna remove this. So first thing is you are gonna need to put your BP human. I just find it easier to reference it this way, so slap in the BP human inside. Make sure that inside of the details panel you search for possess, and make sure that auto possess is put to player 0. Okay, once that's done, let's actually go out and make the blueprint. So inside of a folder, right click, blueprint, actor class, BP new elevator. Alright, double click that. Now there's a little bit of setup to do. So first things first, let's actually get the elevator. So static mesh, and call this elevator. And if we search for lift, not list, lift, it should be that one. There we go. Booyah! So we got the lift. The doors, I won't be putting them in yet, just for simplicity's sake. And okay, we're gonna need another static mesh. Call this button level 1. Okay. And actually, let's go into here. Let's do button. Search for lift button. There you go. And I can just actually see it. Scale it. Go. Ugh. It's like I lost control. Yeah, that should be big enough. Rotate it. And this will be actually yeah, button 1. Might be needed to be smaller. There you go. So button 1, and then if we duplicate it, we can call this button level 2. Move it a little higher. Duplicate that one. Call this button level 3. We won't get to level 3 yet, but and then that one. Duplicate it again, and then I'm gonna call this lobby button and move that to the side. Okay, so we got more or less that. Now all we need is our box collision inside. So box collider, size her up, and the object of this now is to actually get it. Whoops. Don't need it to be that big. As long as you're encompassing all of it, and then a little bit of the exterior, because that will take care of the doors once we actually go to program those in. You can fiddle around with that. Okay, so compile and save. I'm gonna call this trigger. There we go. So all that's nice and dandy. Now, a lot of the code will be in the event script, the event graph here, but we're actually going to start in the construction script. So big difference for those that don't know, event graph is everything that happens on play, and construction script is everything that happens before play. So I'm going to show you guys a neat little thing that we can do with the buttons right here. So let's start off. We're gonna need a variable here. So I'm gonna call this story height, and I don't need it like that, but I need it to be a float. So with that, let's set story height. Oops. And then we're gonna need two things that are gonna be visible. So first one is max story. So the amount of, and make sure that the I is hit. And we're gonna need, I called it something really bad, but here. You guys can call it whatever. I'm gonna keep it the way that it was, that I did it. It's very bad to do this, but it's like two names, the story height and story height, whatever. So make sure that max story and the story height are both visible and both floats. And then we're going to actually drag them both in. We're actually going to get them. Alright. And then with that, we're actually going to times these two. So float times float. And the result of these two will actually be the story height. Alright. Now, for the button check, basically what we're going to be doing in the construction script here. What? That was dumb. Now what we're going to be doing in the construction script is actually controlling when you put the amount of stories, well, it will make the buttons, these buttons that we put, visible and invisible depending on how many levels you have. So right off the bat, let's go in here and button 3, scroll down to where it says rendering, visible, turn that off. And same thing for button 2, visible, turn that off. Alright, so right now they don't show. Pilot save, go back to construction script. Now here comes the logic for it. So we are going to branch off of here. And then we're actually going to get the story height, so the one that we actually put in. Okay, we're going to just plus that by 1. Okay, just to get a little, like a little off variation. So as long as it's over whatever we put, so say example, we put that the story height is 500 units high. Well, it'll do once, because right now what we're doing is we're checking. So let me actually put this in. Let's take this. Let's put it in so that we can see them. BP my new elevator. And yeah, more or less. Okay. So right now what we're doing is we have these buttons here, right? So we have the max story, which let's say we want to go up to 2 levels, right? But right now, the way, because we have it as visible, as not visible, they won't be showing. But what we're going to do is say we put the story height to 500, all right? So it's going to take the story height, times it by whatever the max story we put, so it'll be 1000. And all it's checking is, are you over 501? Because at 500, that's story 1, so that button's there. But at over 501, so say 500 times 2 is 1000, so that's over 501, then we want the second button to show. So what we're going to do is just do a story height check. So we're going to check that that these two values are bigger than the set value that we put, plus 1, and connect all that like so. And if it's true, then we are going to take button 2 and set the visibility like so to on. So now if we come back into here, see, 1, 2, 1, 2. Ta-da! So now you'll have, if you have enough, it at least has to have 1 for sure. So that if you want it to work. Cool. So we have that down. Now let's do for button 3. It's about the same thing. So what we're going to do is over here, we're going to get the story height. We're going to times it by 2 right off the bat because we already know that to be higher than this value, it already needs to be twice as big as that, or twice as big as the first one, sorry. And again, we're going to plus it just by 1, just to get that little off value. And then off of here, we're going to do the exact same check, bigger than this. And we're going to do a branch check, connect that, and take button 3, and set visibility. There we go. True, visible, compile. And then if we come back into here and do 3, 2, 1, 3, ta-da, ta-da. So now you got coming in and coming out buttons while you're level editing. So that's what's fun about the construction script, is it helps your level editor, your level artists or level designers basically. It's mostly for that. So now we're actually done with the construction script. Let's move on to the event graph. So move on right here, and then we are actually going to start off. We're not going to do much in this tutorial since a lot of it was set up, but I'll at least get down to the line tracing. And then in next video, we'll actually go about programming all the levels, because there's, like I said, there's a lot. So I'd rather not jam it all into one video. So into here, let's go on to our trigger. Let's add event begin and add event end. So these are the two that we need, the begin overlap and the end overlap. So with that, let's pull off of here, cast to BP human. So we want to make sure that it's the BP human. Same thing for this one, cast to BP underscore human. Okay. Now we need to actually go about enabling the input that we program into here. So enable input, and when we come out of it, we want to not be able to control the elevator. So we're going to disable the input. And then over here, we are going to get player controller and plug these two. So now we have a way of telling that we have buttons in here that we want to press. So overlay input. All right, cool. Moving on, let's go here and start off on E. We want this to be on the interact button, same thing. So I'm gonna make my own. And then let's start off with the multi-line trace. So pulling off far, multi-line trace by channel. All right, so we're gonna need a start and end. Let's keep remove this, ignore self. So make sure this is not ticked. Oops. So not ticked. Put this here to persistent, just so that we always see it. And visibility. All right, so let's start putting where we want our line trace to start and where do we want it to end. Because if we don't put an end, well, it'll just always go, and that's not smart. So run over here. Let's do an event tick. Let's cast to BP human, and this will be get owner. Get owner. Actually, we want the camera, so let's do it. Owner of the camera. There we go. And now we are going to need a reference to the BP human. So let's do BP underscore human and hit the little eyeball and make sure that this is BP underscore human object reference. drag this and connect it to that. So now we have a quick way of referencing the BP inside of our level. So our human, our actual human, which is the camera that we want to check where the camera is looking at for our line trace. Okay, so now we're going to need to get our start location. So get world location. So this is where the line will start, is at the camera. So we're going to get the world location of the camera, and wherever that location is, well, that's where the line trace will start. Now for the end part, we're actually going to make it go a little further. So get forward vector, and we're going to times this by a float, say 200 units in front of the camera. And then with these two, we're going to plus vector, add these two in, and this will be where the line trace will end, is 200 units after the camera. So where the camera starts, and then where we want it to end is just 200 units forward. Alright, simple enough. Now the only one thing, alright, if we leave it at that, I want to show you guys what happens. So if we press play now, we've put a bunch of this functionality, and it's a good idea to actually continuously, as you're doing code, to like little bits here and there, we should always stop and start testing it. So if I'm in, see nothing happens, right? And very simply, I haven't told it which human to use. Ta-da! So now that I have which human to use, which camera to actually check, now it's going to send a line. But green line, okay, green line means that it's already hit something and it's going somewhere. Red dots means that it's hit something. So if I just stand here and keep pressing E over and over and over again, you'll see all these cute little lines. And then if I back up, see where all the lines are? It's actually hitting the PP human. This means that the little red dots means that it's actually colliding with us. So what we're going to need to do is inside of our elevator here, we're going to make an array, and then connect it to actors to ignore. And now, if we come in and see now, it's red, and it's actually colliding with our. Okay, that's one thing I just noticed. You guys are going to need to scale the elevator. So with the elevator selected, just scale it up and maybe a little wider. Seems the adult human, PP human, doesn't fit. Yeah, okay, now I'm good. So there you have it. So now we have a nice little line trace. We're going to go one step further though, and then I'm going to end this video. Okay, so in here, we actually want to start checking what we're going to hit. Okay, so off the return value here, I'm going to branch, and let's get a reference to what we hit, and let's just break the hit result. Alright, so now we want to see which ones we're going to hit. We're going to cast, this is a weird one now, I know. So cast to BP new elevator. So we're actually going to cast to this script here. And I just found it easier this way to actually be able to connect these things. So just connect the object wildcard to the hit actor. And now, down here, let's make a custom event. Call this up and down. Super stupid. Having this selected, in the inputs here, hit the little plus. And let's call this component, because that's what we're going to want to check. And you need to check, get the type to be primitive component right here. Object reference of the primitive component, which will now give us a component node here to actually plug. back up here now, if I pull off of as BP my BP new elevator, we are going to get our up and down, and we are going to connect it so that we check which component that we've hit. And just to make sure it all works, let's pull off a component, do print, actually no, we can't do it that way, sorry. Do print string, and let's connect these two, and let's actually go and look to see what we are hitting. Oh, I hit the elevator lift, oh, button, lobby button lift. What do we got? Button level 1, button level 2, and button level 3. There we go. So now it knows what we're hitting in this elevator, and only in this elevator though, nothing else. Cool. So I think I'll leave it at that for today. We've done a lot of stuff. Let's just put this under a comment. MultiLine trace. Yeah. So you guys have a bit of stuff to work with for now. In the next tutorial, we'll actually go about programming a few of these levels. Actually getting to say level 1, 2, and 3 afterwards, and then the last one will be on actually setting up the doors and whatnot, which isn't too hard, but it's an extra step either way. So with that, I will leave you guys go, and I hope you've learned a bunch. Again, the elevator's not done, it won't move. You guys can start coding some stuff if you feel comfortable. If not, I will see you guys in the next tutorial where we actually go about programming the other levels, or the levels. Alright guys, so with that, take it easy, and I'll see you guys next time.